Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong, Larry Elder?
What do you mean? What do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about what's going on with
But
us.
if there's systemic racism in this country,
I,
which we know
I
it is.
no, I don't say there is. You say there is. I don't believe that.
Oh, you don't believe there's
No, there
systemic
used to
racism?
be, obviously.
Mm.
Tell me what you think the number one systemic example of systemic racism is in America.
Oh man, there's so
Just
many.
just give me the most important one you
If
think.
I, at the top of mind, I probably maybe say maybe mass incarceration. Maybe.
Really? In during the Great Depression, when 50% of black adults were unemployed, you didn't have this kind of mass incarceration. It's the breakdown of the family.
What's going on, everyone? Sauce King here today, and we'll be breaking down Larry Elder's interview with the Breakfast Club. This is a 4-minute clip I took from like the opening, like maybe first 5 minutes of the video. I want to do a live stream on this entire thing because I want to give my complete thoughts about some of the things that Larry Elder brung about that I'll say majority of black people don't never heard of in their life, because in my view, the black community is in an echo chamber. Hey, you can get mad at me all you want, but the facts are the facts, because 90% of what, on average, 9 out of 10 black people vote Democrat. So you only hear only one side of the argument. You never hear the other side of the argument. And the worst part is people on the black community, in the black community, create smears, labels, discredit people who vote Republican like me, who are conservative like me, right? You stigmatize us, so people don't want to listen to us or hear our side of the argument because it goes against your perceived ideological beliefs and biases, right? And this is why I say the black community needs more black conservatives, because at the end of the day, if a group of people all think the same thing about an issue, can you really claim that the group of people are really thinking? I think this is the most Charlamagne has ever thought about these issues. But hey, I digress. I've been talking a little bit too much. Let's get into the video.
Number one social problem in America, by far, is the epidemic not of COVID, but of fatherlessness. 70% of black kids today enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. Now 25% of white kids enter the world today without a father in the home, married to the mother. And the stats are clear. Even Barack Obama once cited them. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. What's happened? In the mid-60s, with I think the best of intentions, a Democrat named Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. And since then, we have incentivized women to marry the government and incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. You know, when I say this to people.
Yeah. So in my view, like, what would a black liberal, like, what problem would the black liberal have in acknowledging that is actually the case, right? This is observable, demonstrable reality, right? I don't suffer from imagination. I suffer from reality. And this is the reality that a lot of black people are suffering from, right? But liberals don't want to bring this up. And this is why I laugh at people who say, oh, I'm in the middle. Oh, I'm not affiliated with either party. But you have like more sympathy for one side than the other. You're hostile to Republican and conservative thought, but you're more open to liberal and progressive thought. But I'm not either. It's both sides. Like you blame both. You claim to blame both sides, when all the conservatives making is, hey, a lot of the liberal policies that you're likely to vote for, because even if you're an independent black person, 90% of the vote still goes. 90% of the black vote still goes to the Democratic Party. So even if you are independent, I know based on stats that you're more likely to vote for the Democrat. You're more likely to trust the Democrat. And what us conservatives are trying to point out is that a lot of the policies, regardless of the intentions of the people pushing it, has created negative results in the long term for the black community, right? War on poverty is the best example I have of this. You incentivize the woman to pick the state over having a husband. Facts. And what are the consequences of those decisions, right? Your children are 5 times more likely to drop out of school, 9 times more likely to commit crimes, right? Your propensity for poverty also increase. Single moms have the highest propensity for poverty than married couples. You essentially created an incentive for black people to make bad decisions that will give them bad outcomes, and then you're gonna cry to the same party that pushed this stuff, that led you down this path, to also fix it. That don't make sense to me, right? That's insanity to me. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Black people have been voting 90% Democrat for 50 plus years and expected a different result, and that different result never came about. And Black conservatives, all we're saying is, hey, give the Republican platform a try. And we get labeled names. That's my biggest problem with the black community. Black community don't want people who think critically about things, that speak the truth about things. They just want black people to conform to a belief in a narrative that they believe that, oh, if you don't believe this, you're not black. Then I don't want to be black. If I have to lie to myself based on things that I observe and seen and personally experienced in my life, and I say, hey, this is the wrong path our people should be going, and I'm not allowed to point this out or criticize this out in the open, then I don't want to be black, if that's what it means to be black. If it means to be black is, hey, I have to conform to a certain set of beliefs and assumptions without challenge, then I don't want to be black. And that's why I say, hey, the black identity and the black narrative, it's very dogmatic, because you're supposed to accept this without question, especially if you have a certain level of melanin in your skin. And I reject that notion wholeheartedly. But I digress. Let's get back to the Larry Elder video.
Well, pushback I get is, well, there are lots of things that are going on, systemic racism, poverty. Here's the problem. If you look at a young black male aged 10 to 43, that's young to me because I'm 71 years old. A young black man in that demo is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man, same demo. Young black man, real young, 19 and under, the number one cause of preventable death is homicide, almost always at the hands of another young black male. Same demo for whites, the number one cause of preventable death is unintentional deaths. That includes drug overdoses, automobile accidents, drownings. It's not until they get to number 4 that death is the cause. In America, 60% of the shootings, the robberies, and the homicides are committed by black people, often against other black people. Of the homicides in this country, half of them are black victims, almost all killed by other blacks.
And that's an inconvenient truth about this whole mass incarceration narrative that Charlamagne opened up in the intro that I put out in this video, is that you have to show, before I can agree that mass incarceration is wrong, you have to show me that there's laws in the books that specifically discriminate against black people for their skin color. Hey, the law says if you drive while black, I can arrest you. Find me a law like that. Then I can agree, okay, maybe mass incarceration ain't a good thing. But if you can't find a law like that, and the law is based on, hey, your actions. Hey, you broke the law, you do the crime, you pay the time, right? If we all agree that is the, like, if I can guarantee there's no racial bias, and we believe that that is the correct standard that we judge people in our society, then if I can prove that black people disproportionately commit more crime, then logically that would explain why black people are overrepresented in jail. Just like I can prove why black people are overrepresented in the NBA. 74% black, but we're only 13% of the population. Houseway. Who's the best players? Who's usually ranked number 1, right? Which race of people have who had the majority on the top 20 players in high school in the world? They're usually black. So it cause and effect. But if you think in cause and effect, instead of countering your argument, a lot of these race hustlers, because they're race hustlers, they focus on the race. Oh, the cause and effect is white think. And I'm like, well, bro, I'm black, not stupid. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Is like, it seems like anti-racism and all this other the racial justice stuff, all it seems like it is that, hey, we're changing who is allowed to be prejudiced and who's not. I think that's what's going on here. Oh, black people are justified to be prejudiced because they're black, aka racism. That's racism, right? Just like white people said, we could discriminate against you because you're a black man, you colored. We said that's wrong, so why would the opposite be right? That don't make no sense. Two-way street. That's a fundamental belief that I have. It's a two-way street. How you dish it, you better be able to take it as well. But I digress. Let's get back into the video.
How do you explain that if it isn't for the absence of fathers? Are you prepared to say black people are just genetically inclined to commit more crime? I doubt it. And the go-to reaction often is poverty and systemic racism. Here's the problem. 1940, when there was blatant racism, this is before Brown versus Board of Education, before the Civil Rights Act of 64, KKK was still alive and well, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Now it's about 14%. You can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on racism. It is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and neither side is talking about it. The left doesn't talk about it because they caused it with the welfare state, and our side does not talk about it because if you're white, You'll be accused of dissing single moms who are heroically raising these kids, or you'll be accused of being a racist, or if you're black, you'll be accused, as I was by the LA Times, of being the black face of white supremacy.
See, they don't change their playbook. It's the same thing. Smear you, label you something so people don't want to hear what you have to say. Right? It's a form of dehumanization. And I always talk about it. The Democrats, that's their whole playbook. Since the 1860s, that's been the Democratic playbook. Oh, these people are not really human. They're property, aka slavery, right? Right? They always find a way to try to bend the Constitution to fit what's convenient for them and their party, right? And that's been true from 1860 till now. But black people want to sit here and say, "Oh, Democrats are the party of lesser evil," when their whole with the whole fundamental thing about being a Democrat is to pretend that you're for the little guy because you believe you know what's best for society. Where I take the opposite view. I take a more humble view. Hey, we don't know what's best for society. But we do know is how can we make society less worse? And one thing I see how we can make the society less worse is let's not push things that tend to degrade our society into a path where it'll fall into anarchy. Right? This is what happens when you let liberty be the primary focus in your life. You get anarchy. And if the society is too constrictive, you get totalitarianism, right? There's a fine balance. It's a nuanced discussion here, right? And conservatives believe that freedom can exist within constraints. Like there's certain things that's out of bounds, just like a basketball game. How can you play a game without any rules? You can't. So that's the same thing conservatives see. How can you run a society if there's no social norms, if there's no social constraints, if there's no communal cohesion within the society that you're a part of? You're not inviting more chaos. And that's the case for conservatism. This is why conservatives tend to care about the family, because the family is the first, it's pretty much the foundation of any thriving society, right? Because the family facilitates, pretty much your families are tutorial. Hey, this is how the world works. Here's our belief system. Here's how we operate in the world, right? If a lot of good families raise good kids, we'll have a good society, right? And this is the argument that Larry Elder has about why fatherlessness is such a big issue for him. It's a big cultural issue for him, right? And another point I would like to add on his systematic racism point is the reason why I don't worry about systematic racism is that the people who think systematic racism is a big issue in America has to prove to me how systematic racism has not slowed down the Asian community, who statistically they have more income than white people on average. Right? They have higher credit scores than white people on average, and they get better mortgage success rates and mortgage rates than white America. If the whole system is made to make white people have a significant advantage over other races of people, then explain to me how Asians are doing so well in this country if that's the case. You can't observe, like, end of the day, I'm doing stuff like basic scientists do. You observe reality. You have a theory about how reality goes. If reality goes contrary to your theory, that means something's wrong there. It's likely your theory. Your theory is wrong. You have a false assumption. You have to change your assumption. But people don't want to do that. People want to keep jutting around this narrative because they want to feel justified in their vitriol and hatred for another person just because of the color of their skin. And you're not going to tell me that's not racism? Bro, that's just how I think. Bro, let's continue with the video.
Nobody's talking about that. I am.
What are the reasons, if your statistics are right, what are the reasons that you think fathers aren't in the home?
And the one thing I like about Charlamagne the God, and the funny part is that Larry Elder kind of answered his question already. He said, hey, it has nothing to do with property. Like, I don't know if he wasn't paying attention or he was just trying to, he probably disagreed with Larry probably, and he just tried to find a way to counteract what he's saying. Because the whole point of, and this happens later on in the video, but they try to tie the fact that for some odd reason, what white people do affects black people. Now, some people are going to disagree with what I'm saying. I could say maybe things that white people do influence, just like I could say the same thing with black people. Some things black people do influences the behaviors of white people, right? For instance, if a large migration of black people move into a neighborhood that's predominantly white and the white people decide, hey, these people are bringing a high rate of crime, let me move out of here. That's one example where I can say, hey, you influence the behavior of another group. But if you're trying to say, oh, our prosperity lies in the fact of how white people treat us, I'll disagree with you. I would. But, I digress.
As I said, it's because in the mid-'60s, Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. And Charlemagne, literally, they sent social workers door to door in the inner city. I remember this,
Mm-hmm.
advising women of the availability of welfare provided there was no man in the house. It created an economic incentive for women to marry the government. Same thing with whites. In 1965, 8% of whites entered the world without a father in the home, married to the mother. Now it's about 25%, also up threefold. Look at census data, 1910, 1920, 1930, in places like Milwaukee, Chicago, Philadelphia. A young black kid was slightly more likely to be brought into a world with a father in the home, married to the mother, than a young white kid. We have incentivized this kind of bad behavior, and it's had a disproportionately bad effect on the black community.
Let me ask you a question.
That's a question. What white people do? Well, so that's the end of the clip. I kind of already show you everything. And my final thoughts here is that, as you can see, that Larry Elder makes a good point that, hey, something culturally we're incentivizing a cultural norm that is leaving the country worse off than it was in the past. And that's one aspect he's pointing out. Hey, fatherless in the homes, look at the increase. The government, and my argument has always been the government's a referee, and referees can influence the game based on what calls they make. Like if you've seen in a basketball game, why flopping took off in the NBA, because players saw the ref was calling people who flop, even though it was obviously, if you look at the replay, it was not a foul. But the person act like he got fouled, and the ref called it. So what the ref did, he unintentionally rewarded that behavior, and guess what? You got more of it in the NBA. It's the same concept that I'm saying that the government does, that the government did with the war on poverty. You incentivize a certain behavior, and you'll get more of it. You complain about poverty, but which household is more likely to be in poverty? A married household or a single parent household? Everyone knows it's a single parent household because there's only one income. All right, and it's becoming harder and harder and harder, especially in this economy, to live off of one income. Everyone can recognize that reality, but we're going to incentivize people to go down this road. And the minute they make more money than a certain amount, less than the benefits that the government provide, you create bad incentives. Like I think, I'll end off the video. In welfare, then the amount of benefits that you get off of welfare is equal to a person making $55K a year by themselves. If a person in welfare makes more than, I think, $2,000 a month or something, they're like the welfare will remove its benefits from that individual, even though the person, based on their real income, is making less money than the benefits that they're getting. You're incentivizing them pretty much. Hey, I should just stay under $2,000 a month so I can keep the $55K worth of benefits, so I can keep living off of that. So this is the structure that we're talking about. Like at best, welfare needs to be reformed. That's the argument conservatives are saying. Hey, we need to look at how we structure welfare, because we're incentivizing people to make a logical decision, right? Because at the end of the day, we're humans. We base the trade-offs. Hey, is it worth making more than $2,000 a month when I'm getting benefits worth $55K a year? Hell no. So I won't go past that ceiling. And that's what you do. You make people comfortable in poverty. And that's been the biggest argument conservatives have been having for, I think, since conservatism been in this country. But hey, I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I would really love to do a live stream on this, but there's a lot of stuff going on today. Vivek had an interview with Tucker Carlson. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section if you want me to do my live stream today on this, so I can get my full thoughts and opinions about this interview with the Breakfast Club. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys for watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.